Hello and welcome to Playing to Win, a weekly podcast produced by My Disability Sports South Australia. We will share stories and experiences about life with a disability and the important role health and well-being plays for us. Our army of guests will also share their experiences as well as the highs, lows and everything in between. My name is Tim Haggis and I am joined by Stephen Palmer, Australian blind cricketer and rising tennis star, and Candice Kennedy, national road tandem bike champion and number one female blind tennis player in Australia. And we are all playing to win.
G'day guys and welcome to the, what is it called again?
Playing to win. Playing to win.
G'day guys and welcome to Playing to Win. My name is Stephen Palmer and joining me today is my co-host and probably most of the time host, Timothy Haggis.
Thank you very much.
How are you today, Tim?
Good, mate. Thanks for having me on.
No problems at all. No problems at all. So I guess we'll start with you. I mean, it's probably a long time ago. We'll start probably with your childhood.
Well, yeah, I'm 55 now, so I've been around a little while. When I grew up in the 70s and early 80s, there was no blind sport at all, none. And I went to school and I can remember at about 10 or 11 years old, really wanted to play sport, footy, cricket, all that sort of stuff. And we just couldn't do it. Like we just kick around amongst ourselves, but you couldn't play competitive sport. There was no running, nothing. It was a vast...
Footy was certainly rough back in the day, that's for sure.
They were. So back in the day...
Good luck,
we all went to Townsend House like you did, and it was down at Brighton near the beach. We had an oval there.
Lovely spot, actually.
It is nice, mate. We used to. I've got to tell you that things did pick up when I was 12 because we got a new PE teacher, a guy called Dennis Peck came along, and
I remember Mr. Peck.
Got us all out running. He'd go, "You've got to all get running." Like we just used to go out running all the time, and I loved running. I was either 12 or 13 when I did my first CE to Bay. Did a lot of running, would kick the footy, play cricket at lunchtime, stuff like that. But the other thing that Dennis Pecky brought to our thing was canoeing. So we had these canoes and we used to go down to the beach and go canoeing. I mean, how good's that? I mean, you're in primary school and you get to go canoeing. And so we did a lot of that.
No, that's brilliant. I
never
really had that, to be honest.
But he wouldn't have been around when you got there because he's I think he's...
No, 86. He was still... Mate, he was still around the scene, that's for sure. I remember. Yeah, but he was still heavily involved with Townsend because he was definitely running some stuff with Jenny Flood.
Yeah.
When I started to arrive, I remember him in his nice blue van combi.
Yeah, he still got that.
I don't know if he still got it. I don't know if he still got it now, but he definitely used to have it back then.
Yeah, right. He was a great influence on me, got me running. I did the CE to Bay in under an hour on my first go, right, which is not bad. Right. I mean, I really didn't know, running 12Ks is pretty heavy duty. Then I went to mainstream high school. I went to Pulteney Grammar. This is not a well-known fact. And
rich boy.
Well, not really. And this is the thing, but my mum and dad wanted me to have a good education. So they sent me there, but they should have done more research because it didn't really work out. But, or maybe good education might have been slightly wasted on me. But I played a season of normal cricket and I almost got cleaned up. I got a pretty similar story to Candice, who is our other host, who's not here today, but I had a ball hit right at me and it just missed my head by like a half an inch. And I thought, don't think I can do this. I just played soccer and Aussie rules, didn't play cricket anymore. Even though they tried to hide me in the field, there's no way of doing it.
But didn't you, rumour has it you hit a 4 in your last game, I think.
I did? Oh, thanks, mate. You must have read my rap sheet. Okay, so I played a season, and in my last game, I hadn't scored a run, right? So I went out to bat, and every time I went out to bat, I got out first ball. And on my last innings that I had, I was out there, and I hit a run. I hit a single, then the over finished, and this bowler came on, and I was just excited enough to have scored a run. And he was like, he bowled the ball pretty slow, and it bounced. Like I remember it bouncing up near like around my sort of head area. And I just got onto it and hit it, and just the place went crazy, mate, when I hit this 4. I go, oh, that blind guy hit a 4. Yeah, so that was a good note. That was the last shot I played, and it was a good note to go out on, actually. And you know what another funny story, when I started playing blind cricket, I only hit 1 6 ever. right? And it was the same thing. The ball come right up, and it come right up, and it sat there, and I just whacked it, just sat there and begged to be hit. Like, no one could have missed it. And like, I wasn't a bad soccer player, and I could play footy in the wet. Like, when the ball was on the ground, I was pretty ferocious. But when everyone got older and the marking began to happen, I was a bit out of it. But cricket was my thing. So as soon as I was old enough, I joined the cricket club when I was 15, started playing cricket. I did that for nearly 40 years, and then just decided to move on to something else.
No, that's awesome.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, so on the blind tennis scene now as well. There's a famous story about you missing out on the Australian blind cricket team.
Oh, you want to hear about that?
Yeah, and you're always going on about it. So I think you should definitely tell the audience about that story.
I'll be careful how I tell it, because my friend Graham Guilford took my spot. So when they introduced international blind cricket in 1998, and they took they put an Australian squad together of, something like 25 players. And we went to 3 or 4 training camps. And in those days, everyone was paying their own way for everything. Like, we went to Sydney, we went to Melbourne, we went to Brisbane. We did this, all these training camps. And I think the last training camp was in Melbourne. And Graham didn't turn up. Graham's got diabetes, and he tripped over his washing basket and he cut his foot open. And so he didn't turn up to the camp, right? And it was just me there. And I thought, well, he's not here, so, surely I'm going to make it. The first 4 B2s picked themselves, so they announced the squad. They named everyone, and then Graham Guilford took the 5th spot. They reckon, if he's fit, he's a better bowler than I am, which I don't dispute. I'm a better batter than him and a better fielder. But they liked the way he could swing the ball both ways. We were laughing about that. But he took my spot. But as it went on, because he had diabetes, and when you get cuts, or in fact they go infected, and he had part of his foot amputated, and he still went on the tour and took my spot. Then the next time, I think I went around again, and they picked the side after the Adelaide Nationals, the one before you're talking about. And a guy called Adrian Smith from Victoria, who is an RP B2, he had a really good Nationals and he hit a lot of runs. He took my spot then, the 5th spot. So I went, that's it. I don't think this is meant for me. And decided that my international blind cricket career was over.
Oh, look,
mate, you got tears in your eyes.
It's just not meant to be.
Nah,
mate, I do. I'm absolutely gutted for you.
Thanks, mate.
At the end of the day, mate, it's one sport onto another, and I'm sure you're definitely good enough to make the Australian squad for blind tennis. I played you recently. And
well, mate, it got cancelled.
Yeah, well, it has, but
we might not be doing anything until 2023, and I'm 55 now. What do you think, mate? What
that's 33. Mate, you could be the oldest Australian blind tennis player by a mile, mate.
Well, apparently the guy that won the B2 at the last one was 63. And if I get myself fit and keep myself fit, then maybe, I'm going to keep trying. There's no question. But I've done other sports as well. Like, I was a good runner. Do you want to hear my running story? I've got it's better than my cricket story, actually.
Well, mate, this is about you, and obviously I don't know everything about you. So, if there's some stuff that I'm missing, feel free to tell it, because I'm sure people want to definitely hear about the sporting adventures of Timothy Roy Haggis.
Okay, well, in 1981, I was a 400-metre runner. And I went to my school sports day and I ran the 400 in 54.2 seconds, right? And I won my race at my school. And then I went and did the independent schools competition, which was all the private schools. Yes,
SAPSASA.
Because well, it's a bit like SAPSASA, but just an inter-school competition. Now, in private schools, you get lots of sport development, right? So if you're good at something, they really get on you and they give you proper coaching and stuff. So I would just run, like I'd take off and I'd run. I wasn't a very good 100-metre runner, but I could run at the same speed for 400 metres. Yeah. I could probably only run 100 in 13 seconds, but I could run 400 in 13.5 per 100. So I went to the inter-school thing and I came 4th and I had the same time, 54.2. And then I left school because I didn't go through and do year 12 and all that sort of thing. And in 1988, when they had the first Paralympics in Seoul, the Australian qualifying time for 400 was 57. All right, but that was 7 years ago, and I hadn't run for years. But when I heard about it, I thought, mate, I could have run for Australia. I really could have, So, and then there was my 10-pin bowling career. I got attempting bowling average.
Oh, I haven't heard about this one. This is a new one. Oh,
Seriously,
let me get my popcorn.
I threw everything but the kitchen sink at my sporting career. I think it needed the water to be in the sink because, 140 is not an international kind of bowling average. You need to be up around 180, 190 or something like that. We had a guy in South Australia called Larry Kent that bowled 2 perfect games. That's the kind of calibre you're talking about there. So I was never really that good. But I'll just give any sport a go, mate. I'll just do it, whatever it is. And now tennis is a sport. I'm going to throw everything I've got into that, learn from my previous sporting misfortunes about selection and make sure I get selected for the next set.
Oh, and look, you've definitely got the skill. That's for sure. I've played you in both table tennis and tennis, and you're pretty good. So, I think it's just about obviously making sure the lighting and everything's working for you, but you've definitely got the potential to do something good in tennis, that's for sure.
Well, you can't pick your scenarios, can you? You can't pick what lighting you're going to be in. You got to because what works for me doesn't necessarily work for everyone. And I like a contrasting background, like a black background with a yellow ball coming off is perfect. Like you can
I did think about this. I did think about this with you though. Have you actually thought about getting some dark sunglasses?
No, that would make me not see.
It doesn't make sense.
No,
but it doesn't make sense.
Well, see, the thing is,
explain to the people about your eyesight, so they can maybe understand a bit more about you.
Well, the problem is I just can't see very well, mate. That's really
obviously, congratulations. But what have you got?
Oh, mate, I've got a nystagmus or stigmatism, or my eyes move around and don't focus too well. Well, I've got 2/60, which is about 3 or 4% eyesight, I suppose. That's my left eye. My right eye's pretty blurry. I haven't got a lot there. I think what it probably means is I just don't see clarity. So the depth of clarity that you see when the sun's in a certain place, it glares everything up. But in reverse, when there's too much shadow or darkness, I can't see either, right? So the light has to be a certain way for me to work. Now, when you and I played at Colonel Light, and I had that green background, I could see the ball coming off the racket towards me, and I could move to the ball and hit it, and I could see you hitting it back. But say, for example, when we go to Weagle and you've got no background, you've got just a fence and then you've got houses and trees and everything, I lose the ball in the background. That's how my eyesight works.
What about a pair of sunnies with a green lens tint?
Well, I've got yellow and orange glasses and they don't make it any better. See, it's being able to see the ball. So the best way I can see something is on a background that's one colour and it's a completely different colour to the ball. That's how it works. I was just watching a video this morning the International Blind Tennis put up, and they are playing in a big gymnasium, and the tennis courts are all down the middle of the room, and then where the people would sit, they've turned off all the lights and it's all black. You can see the ball coming off the black towards you, which they must have identified is the best way for most of the players to see the ball. Yeah, it's really hard to explain because, a man that you and I both know pretty well, Chris Hansen, he has got these red glasses. Have you ever put them on? Like, mate, impossible.
I felt like I was a Terminator.
I think I was going to have some kind of seizure, mate. I couldn't see, and it was weird. That's what he needs to see. You and I are completely
incredible,
different.
Isn't it?
Oh,
well, that's the thing, Tim. I'm sort of thinking with you. If you had a green lens tint, it would replicate the screen for the back of the wall that you like.
No, that has to be green. Has to be an actual background. But I'm prepared to carry my own background wherever I go. Like, I'll go to any lengths to do it. See, now I've got it sort of organised that you guys come and play at Colonel Light with me on a Tuesday. I've got another guy play at Colonel Light. I'm playing a lot of tennis at Colonel Light, and I'm really enjoying being competitive. And I can also play at Summerton Park as well. So I went and had a match down there a week and a half ago. It's good. It's good. It's got that green surround and you can see. And when you've got a good surround, you play good tennis. But Weagle, for example, I had real trouble picking the ball out of the background and making contact with it. I love table tennis as well. And if you've got a good background there, it's the same, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I've got, bed sheets and stuff hanging around the wall so I can play table tennis a bit better. So,
you've got to get your surrounds right, don't you?
Oh, exactly right. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things about having a vision impairment that, we can both relate to. You've got to make sure that you do what you need to do to be able to see.
Well, you can't necessarily control what environment you go into. Like, for example, when we go and we go and play tennis tournaments somewhere, we're going to go into a gym and we're going to be presented with a situation. We're going to have to adjust to it. Some will be better and some will be worse than what we like. But I probably believe that once we start playing in indoor venues, it's going to favour me more because the walls are all one colour. As long as that's the case, I can see the ball. I think that puts me up equal, at least puts me equal with some of the other B3s. I'm not talking about you and Liam and Dragon, but at least it gives me an opportunity to have an even go at the whole thing. As long as I can see the ball coming and hit it back.
No, of course, absolutely. So you obviously went to Pulteney for high school. Did you go to university after that, or did you do any study outside of high school?
I went to the University of Hard Knocks. You know that one?
I don't, mate. I'm too young for that.
The University of Hard Knocks is the one where you go out and you forge your way in the world and you learn the hard way. You know what I mean? That's a saying.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. Yeah. I do have a marketing diploma, all of that sort of thing, which has helped me because I worked in fundraising most of my life and raised money mostly for blind sport and also for disability sport. So this is what I mean. Sport has been the whole centre of my world. Like virtually my working life and my recreation life has all been based around sport of some sort. So I've been pretty lucky to have that because it's almost been like not having a job because you're working to do things that kind of benefit you in your recreation as well. And
of course,
which is a good thing. So the organisation we're representing, My Disability Sport, Australian Disability Sport is now becoming My Disability Sport South Australia, and it's going to hopefully revolutionise disability sport in South Australia by providing support in a range of areas so that people can become fitter and healthier. We want to get people on our show and talk about their journeys and how they overcame adversity to live fit and healthy and happy lives, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's probably where we need to start looking at as just the general society these days is that I know for a long time that people saw disabilities as a burden, I would probably put it. But, as a society, we're slowly picking up that, people who have disabilities are just as capable. Sure, there needs to be some slight modifications, but like I've said to all my mates, I said, you put on some simulation glasses and let me bowl 100 clicks an hour to you down in the nets and see how you like it. Because, I have a couple of mates who think, it's just blind cricket, but, they also enjoy watching it.
Well, let me draw you back to one of the statements you made earlier when you said you first went out. You thought it wasn't going to be anything. Then you met the fastest people and learned that it was a serious thing. So unless you faced it, and they can't do that. Unfortunately, it's too dangerous because it's okay for us. We can't see and we know and what to expect. But if you take someone who's fully sighted and stick goggles on them and then bowl them at 100 miles an hour, you could really hurt them, couldn't you?
Oh, well, there's a couple of us Aussie guys went down to the SCG and we actually had Brett Lee and Glenn McGrath come out that day, and Lindsay Hebben actually bowled probably one of his quicker deliveries towards Brett Lee, and he put a photo of his toe the next day and it was just black because it was just bruised.
So he had goggles on, did he?
Yeah, he did. He had goggles on, and he gave them a sense and an appreciation of what it's like for us to be out in the middle facing those sort of deliveries and how we managed to play the shots, etc., etc. So
blackouts or just one with the eye condition?
I think they had a couple different pairs on. So I know they had one of them had blackouts and etc. And they definitely need to work on their batting techniques, that's for sure. But and I think the whole point of this program is to open people's eyes to what we're capable of and how people have overcome obstacles in their lives and in their journeys to be where they are today, and how we can really support and bring up the future, because let's face it, life's all about the future, and it's almost like a study. Everyone's got a study in life.
Yeah. So people go, oh, you guys are amazing the way you do that, but we only work with the tools we've been given, and that's all we're doing, right? We're not doing anything special. We're just working with the tools we got and the resources we've got, trying to make the best of what we got. And that's all we want anyone to do. Being unhealthy long term, not being active and not eating properly creates long-term health problems like obesity, diabetes, all sorts of things. The older you get, the harder it is to kick it out. So we want people to acknowledge that they need to be fitter and healthier, and then we'll be here to help them every step of the way on their journey, whether it's doing a sport, trying to stay active, going for a walk, or anything like that. That's what we're here for. And we're going to bring on a whole range of people to talk about that. And every single one will have a different journey.
Absolutely, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what these stories have to come on podcast, because it's going to be a great journey, that's for sure.
Well, guess what? We're out of time. Next episode will be with Candice. We'll be interviewing her and talking to her because she's had a particularly interesting journey. She only lost her eyesight recently and had to battle through a lot of things. So we're going to hear all about that. And I think once everyone's heard her story, they'll say, why can't I do some of this stuff myself? So we look forward to that.
Absolutely.
And that'll be soon. But in the meantime, thanks, Steve. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for talking to me. And thanks for being part of the
No
show.
problems. And thanks for sharing your story, Tim.
Thanks, mate. Oh, I was happy to tell it. I've told it many times. I'm pretty sure everyone listening's heard it before. But we'll see, won't we?
No, exactly.
Thank you for tuning in to Playing to Win. We hope you will join us next time. Search for our podcast on the Australian Disability Sport website, australiandisabilitysport.com.au. Follow the updates on Australian Disability Sport's Facebook page. Thank you, and just remember, we're all playing to win.